Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews, Connections in Mind. Well, we've made it through another year, and as we tick away the final hours of 2021, I think it's time to take a look back and see what was going on in the movie and TV world this year. The good, the bad, and the just okay, in my opinion. This was a year that a lot more came out this year than last year, that's for sure, but we're still, while it did seem a little more normal than last year was, we're still not out of the woods of this, unfortunately, and we do have to take that into account with a lot of these things, but we are fortunate to live in a world where we actually, in a time where we actually did get to see a lot more new movies and TV this year than we did last year, and how I'm going to break down my rankings of this, of all the movies and TV that came out this year is I always start with my worst, and then I do a lot more. The big chunk are the just okay films. These are films where, they're not great in my opinion, they're not bad in my opinion, they're just kind of, like this name says, it's just okay, and I'm ranking them by pretty much just rewatchability, and this is all very subjective, it's all my opinion, not necessarily a ding on the quality-wise of any of these movies. I'm just, my rewatchability standards. That's how we're doing the rankings. Then, of course, we're going to do the best of the year, as well as my personal favorites. And then I'm going to give my list of my preview list of all of the movies that I'm going to be reviewing in 2022. So, that in mind, let's get into the year that was 2021 in film and TV. Now, get this out of the way quickly. Let's get to the worst of 2021 in my opinion. And I didn't do a really ranking on these just because there's only two films in the list, and those are Matrix Resurrections and The King's Man. I throw them on the worst just because both of them have the common theme of I'm not sure what kind of movie they actually wanted to be, and I think that really hurt them. If I was going to rewatch either of them, I would probably rewatch The King's Man more over the Matrix Resurrections, just because it's a World War I movie. You can watch it like that and be perfectly satisfied. So let's get into the just okay films. Now this is where I'm going to start ranking things. This is where, again, not a ding on quality per se, because all these films have something to enjoy in them. It's just I'm ranking them by, how much I liked them this year. And all these are fit into the just okay category. Just okay number 13 is Marvel's Eternals. Just a lot of movies, it's great to look at, and it does feel a little bit like a Marvel movie, but this is definitely an experimental movie that I think does. It was a swing and a miss in my opinion, so that's my, you can see my full review of that for my more in-depth details. Pretty much all of these, you can do that as well. I'll be throwing, cards up in the corner on for that. However, there are going to be a couple of these that I just threw in on the just okay pile that I did not actually do a full review on, and I saw them, I didn't do a full review on, so I'll touch on them here. Number 12 on that list is Tom and Jerry, the new Tom and Jerry live action mixed with animation. When it was a Tom and Jerry movie, it was awesome. When it wasn't a Tom and Jerry movie, it was really boring and kind of stupid. So those are my thoughts on that. Just okay, number 11 is Chris Pratt's The Tomorrow War, where I was really looking forward to it. I thought it was an interesting concept, but it just didn't do enough for me to really, it was, in the end, it just felt a little too generic. I mean, not bad, it just kind of okay and kind of forgettable, honestly. That's one of those movies, I had completely forgotten it came out this year until I was going through the list of movies that I reviewed. So there's an indication for you. Number 10 on the just okay list is a film that I just saw recently. That just came out recently on Amazon Prime. It's called Being the Ricardos. This is a biographical docudrama, I guess, directed by Aaron Sorkin, and it documents a compressed timeline. It's basically a week in the life of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz as they are producing the I Love Lucy show, and events go on that, twists and turns on that, based on real life events in their lives. It's a very interesting film. It's a very well put together film. I really like that. There is a certain Sorkin-ness in it. There are a couple walking and talking shots that I was like, oh hey, this is kind of cool. I kind of missed that. But other than that, it's like, my big takeaway from that is like, it's fine. Other people might get more out of it, but that's why it ended up this low on the just okay list. I don't really think I'm going to be revisiting Being the Ricardos again. So you can check that out on Amazon Prime now. Number 9 on my just okay list is a Netflix original movie, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and again, this is one where I had a little bit of fun with. It's good animation. If you haven't seen this before, it's a animated film. I believe it was through Sony, and it was sold to Netflix, and it's pretty much the title describes the plot. The Mitchells are a typical suburban family, and they're tossed into this scenario where they have to survive the robot apocalypse and somehow reverse it. And of course, they learn stuff about each other along the way and how to get along well. So again, fun movie, but I don't really think I'm going to be rewatching that again anytime soon. So that's why it's number 9. Number 8 on my just okay list is another Netflix original movie, and it's Gunpowder Milkshake, starring Karen Gillan. And this is another one of those movies that's sort of like trying to be like the female John Wick, even though that's kind of an unfair comparison to be for a label to apply to it. It compares a little bit just because Karen Gillan plays a assassin for hire basically, and she's tasked with a target, and she ends up going against that target, and that she's, finds out that it's like, oh, it's not what you think. She just has to end up protecting this little girl, and then she has to rope in other assassins in her life, and there's great action scenes in this, and it is pretty funny, but I'd say pretty much all the great stuff happens in the first half of this movie, maybe the first 2/3, I'd say. The ending, I think, the third act, it felt a little, dragging on a little bit, and also some of the supporting characters, I would have liked to learn more about them, but we just don't, and that's a shame. So now we're getting to the point where I probably want to rewatch, Gunpowder Milkshake at least once more, just to relive that. But now we're getting to the point where these are just okay, but I'll rewatch them again at some point. Which leads us to number 7 on my just okay list, which is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I like Venom. I like Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I can see why people wouldn't like this movie, just because, yes, it is doubling down on the Eddie and Venom romance and relationship angle a little bit. There's definitely romantic subtext going on there, but really, the action itself is kind of chopped down to a point where it's like, it is kind of scatterbrained and maybe a little bit on fast forward, and then it gives, I think it's 97 minutes long, and it does feel like, you sit there and it's like, oh, it just happens, and it's kind of like a drive-by, excitement thing. It's like, okay, bye, and it's like, that's it. It's fun, but yeah, that's why it lands on number 7 on the just okay pile for me. Number 6 on my just okay pile is Mortal Kombat, the 2021 live-action remake of Mortal Kombat, the second, or the third, I should say, live-action Mortal Kombat movie to come out. And this one, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I especially love Kano. He probably has some of the biggest laughs in this movie, and the action is, for the most part, pretty good, and does give me some of that, fatality awesomeness that you have, but it doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. Also, you base the marketing a little bit too much on, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and they have maybe, 10 minutes tops in the movie. Some in the beginning, and then a little bit at the very, very end. It's like, okay, cool. But I'm interested to see what they do with a sequel if they get around to it. So that's why it ends up here at number 6. Dune. Dune 2021 goes to Dune is number 5 on my just okay list, and this one, again, love the visuals. I mean, the world building in this movie is amazing, and Denis Villeneuve and his cinematography team did an outstanding job with this, and the characters, for the most part, like, it's well acted pretty well. My big complaint about it is that, yes, this is a part 1, and it feels like a part 1, and if having read the novel right before seeing Dune, there's a lot of it that's like, okay, you cut out so much of here, and you kind of have to, but that kind of robs some of the motivation of what's going on in this, to these characters. So I know why they're doing these things, but I'm not sure anyone else who is just coming into this movie would understand what's going on with them. So that's why it shows up as number 5 on my just okay list, but I'll definitely rewatch this one, especially once part 2 comes out, which I believe will be in 2023. So look for that review. Number 4 on my just okay list is Black Widow, and again, this is one where it's a very serviceable Marvel movie. It's fun, and I love Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, and this gave us, Florence Pugh as Yelena, and that, I mean, she's amazing in that role. I mean, what hurt this movie is that it has pretty much zero stakes, knowing that it is a prequel, and we also know how the character of Scarlet of Black Widow ends up. And this also feels like a movie that this really should have been released 4 years ago at this point. So, all that being said, this does fit in nicely with my MCU rewatch cycle, which is getting longer and longer as the MCU gets built. So, I don't think it might be a while before I get my next, full MCU rewatch beginning to end, but that will definitely have a place in it. Number 3 on my just okay list is F9, The Fast Saga. I mean, look, this movie is stupid. There's just so much cartoon physics on display here, but I don't care. It's so much fun. And, I mean, if you're not bought into it by this point, you're not going to get bought into this one, but I've been bought into the absurdity of Fast and Furious pretty much from the beginning, but really around Fast 5's when I'm like, alright, embrace the madness at this point. So that's why I could put F9 at number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my just okay list is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, it's a perfectly serviceable Marvel movie. What makes it stand out, though, is the awesome action scenes, the great martial arts scenes, especially in the first half of this movie. And also Awkwafina, her shtick is, it can wear a little bit, but she's actually really funny. The only reason that it stays in the just okay category for me is that third act, it feels so generic and it's lacking in such depth or scale that I think that really hurts it in the long run. So for those reasons, that's why I keep it in the just okay pile. But we're getting into the point where the upper stratospheres of just okay. It's just knocking it down just a little bit from being some of the best of 2021, in my opinion. Which leads me to number 1 on my just okay list, and that is Free Guy. Now, I waffled a little bit on where to place Free Guy on my list. I originally had Free Guy as one of the best of the year, but then I recently rewatched it, and, honestly, it's fun. It's just, it is fun, but it's not much more than that, let's just say. And I don't know how, not being a huge gamer or online gamer or Twitch watcher or something like that, I don't get really into all the extra stuff that they have going on to it. I recognize it, but I don't have that much investment in it. And aside from that, some of the twists, it's like, okay, I was kind of surprised in the theater, but then it's like, alright, not the big one at the very, very end, of course. That's one where I think on rewatch, that's one that kind of knocked it into the very top of the just okay pile for me, because the twist review, the realization at the end, I think whenever it's a reveal is revealed to the audience, and then it takes presented to the character at the same time as the audience, and the audience is waiting so long for the character to actually catch up with where we've realized. That's a mark where I think that a movie can be hurt. And I think that happened in Free Guy, especially at the end. So those reasons are why it just barely got out of, was knocked out of the best list, but it stays at number 1 of my just okay list for the 2021. So now let's get into my picks for the best of 2021. So this number 7 on my in my best of 2021 is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, this one I placed it just inside the best list and just outside of the just okay list because, I mean, James Gunn is a riot, the director. I mean, so many of his jokes land. I love the mature humor that we got going on here. In that it doesn't, coddle anyone when it's the humor. It tells you exactly what you're going to get, right, pretty much from the first minutes of the movie, and it delivers every single time. And also, I can't not like any movie with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I mean, that's pretty much the only reason why I even tolerate the 2016 Suicide Squad. Is like, I mean, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is the best part of that movie, and not much else, and pretty much nothing else. So, I mean, what more can I say about this movie? Like, it's fun and it's great, and I wish more comedies could do this sort of thing. Number 6 on my best of the year list of 2021 is Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Yes, it took me quite a while for me to get around to actually watching this. I pretty much had to wait until the Snyder Cut came out on Blu-ray to watch it, just because I didn't have a HBO Max subscription yet, and that was pretty much the only thing I would have gotten an HBO Max subscription for. And this one, look, I enjoyed the theatrical cut of Justice League, but I recognized it had some deep problems. This one, it's a very different movie from the theatrical version, not least of which is because it's 4 hours long, and I don't mind a long movie, and I like the fact that it is cut into segments, so it can be, you can take chunks at a time if you really needed to, and I like that this is now the director's pure vision, and Zack Snyder was obviously derailed by real world events, and now he's gotten the chance to tell it the way he wanted it to. I think is very great, and I really enjoyed a lot of this, but knowing that more than likely we're not going to get any more movies in the Snyderverse. I mean, never say never, of course. I mean, everyone was doubting the Snyder Cut of Justice League would ever happen, but I think it's more likely that we're not going to get any. I think it was supposed to be a 5-movie series in the Snyderverse, so I'm pretty sure we're not going to get the other 2 movies, and that hurts the Snyder Cut just because we're going to get a lot of, so many things that they're trying to set up, we're not going to get it seeing. And the other thing that kind of hurts this movie for me is, yes, it is 4 hours. I don't mind necessarily it being 4 hours, but some of the things they really should have been cut. Like, you could have cut this down a little bit more, man. So that's why it ends up as number 6 on my best of 2021. Number 5 on my best of the year is the 2021 remake by Steven Spielberg, West Side Story. Now, you can check my review of this. I went into a whole thing as to why I think a lot of the changes in this movie don't necessarily work, at least for me, but I can easily recognize that this is a very solidly made movie and is something that I'm glad exists in this world. So that's all I'm going to get to in this video. You can check my review for more on that. Let's move on to number 4 on my best of 2021, and this is more of a personal pick than anything else because I can very easily see this being in the just okay pile for a lot of other people, and it's Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm a simple guy. I like kaiju movies, and this one, it delivered pretty much everything I wanted from a kaiju movie. And this is a great for the most part, this is a great build-up for in the movie itself. As far as the MonsterVerse, the Warner Brothers MonsterVerse, I wish this had come before Godzilla King of the Monsters. But again, I'm really glad we got this movie, and I really hope that this partnership continues to make more beyond this. I think they only contracted for 4 movies on this front, so looking forward to that. Number 3 on my best of 2021 is No Time to Die. Daniel Craig's final outing as James Bond 007. I mean, I love James Bond, and this one, it's not perfect, but as far as, an ending to the 5-film arc of Daniel Craig, this is a great ending, and it sets up enough where I'm very curious to see where they go from here. I'll be very anxious for any news related to Bond 26 at this point, so that's why it ends up as number 3. Now we're into my top 2, and these are both my personal favorites of 2021, and I kind of waffled on to which order I wanted to put them in. I'm going to be buying both of these on Blu-ray. I'm going to be rewatching both of these probably multiple times, but it'll just kind of depend on my mood. Really, they could be tied for number 1 in my opinion, but for the sake of rankings, I'm going to give it a slight edge to one over the other, and that's why number 2 on my best of 2021 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. So much fun, and it deals with the issues so well, I think, in my opinion, and the special effects do hold up quite well, especially the blending with the practical effects, and the characters are so much fun to be around, and that's why I think this Ghostbusters Afterlife is one of my personal favorites of the year, which makes number 1 the best movie of 2021 in my opinion, at least of the ones that I reviewed, is Spider-Man No Way Home. What more can I say about this movie that pretty much every other online reviewer hasn't said to this point? Just so much fun, and I love Spider-Man. I have such a connection with the Raimi Spider-Mans. Lived through the Andrew Garfield times, that I'm glad after going back and seeing them that yes, there is some reappraisal that's being done now than when they came out, and I'm glad that both that these guys are coming back and being able to address the rights and the wrongs of their respective franchises. And again, just so much fun to be had, especially if you're a Spider-Man fan. That's why Spider-Man No Way Home is my number 1 movie of 2021. Alright, so before I give you my list on 2021, or my list of movies that I'm going to be upcoming in 2022 that I'll be reviewing, I feel I'll just briefly touch on the TV series that I reviewed this year and where I would rank them. I only reviewed a handful of series, pretty much all Marvel series. All of them, I can't believe we got 5 different Marvel series on Disney Plus, all coming out this year. I'm not really ranking these so much, but I'm putting them. None of them were in the worst, obviously, but in the just okay pile, I would put Falcon and the Winter Soldier, What If, and Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks in that just okay pile. See my reviews for thoughts on those. And as far as the best TV, in my opinion, of 2021, at least of the ones that I reviewed, Loki, WandaVision, and Hawkeye all fit into that category. And of those 3 in the best, I would say my personal favorite of those 3 is probably still WandaVision. Even though it definitely had its issues, but that's just what my thoughts are on the TV. I felt I'd be remiss not to touch on those things. And now let's get into the list of 2022 movies that I'm going to be reviewing, and I might add or subtract movies from this list because unfortunately we're still in pandemic-y times, and I feel like I have to say this: these release dates are always subject to change. With that being said, the upcoming movies that I'll be reviewing in 2022 are Morbius, coming out January 28th, Death on the Nile, coming out February 11th, The Batman, coming out March 4th. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, coming out April 8th. Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, April 15th. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, May 6th. Top Gun Maverick, May 27th. Jurassic World Dominion, June 10th. Thor, Love and Thunder, July 8th. Black Adam, July 29th. Mission Impossible 7, September 30th. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, October 7th. The Flash, November 4th. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, November 11th. Avatar 2, December 16th. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, also December 16th. Now, as I said, I might add or subtract things from that list as, release dates could possibly change, or a movie that I didn't realize might coming up. I kind of waffled on, there might be a surprise review in February. I'm debating whether or not I want to see and review Moonfall, which is going to be a Roland Emmerich film, and I'm usually a big fan of Roland Emmerich films. I got a bunch of them on my shelf over here, but he's very hit or miss these days, so that might be one that you might see coming up, but those are my rankings of the best, the worst, and the just okay of 2021. What did you think of where I placed these films? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, this is not a definitive ranking. This is just my personal preference as to where I think these movies should be placed as far as category goes, and it's obviously not a comprehensive list because I'm only one man and I can't see all the movies, so there probably a bunch that I missed. So thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate whatever audience I can get, and as we count down the final hours of 2021, I just hope that as we go into the new year, I just hope that we can reflect on the good that happened this year while not forgetting about the bad, where we can take that attitude into the new year, and we can pray that there will be better times ahead, and if not, that we will have the strength to carry on. So that being said, again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.